Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
And welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is Survivor's Remorse. And I have Stephen joining me, Rodney, and Teron. So Rodney, tell us a little bit about Survivor Remorse as we're talking about.
As we're talking about it today, Survivor's Remorse is, for example, if we were all fall from nothing like the projects, and one of us makes it and get rich, makes it by, I guess, whatever definition you have. And everybody else is still, where we started, and you feel guilty about it. That's pretty much Survivor's Remorse.
I can relate to that. I have a family member. They served some time, just came home. And before they did their time, we were so tight. Like every day, hanging together, doing the same thing together, think the same, talk the same. And since they came back home, they hit hard times. And I'm in a different headspace, and they are somewhat still in the same headspace. And I'm beyond like where I was at before. Now I'm in a different space. I have certain things that I didn't have back then, and so it's sort of like I almost feel like a little guilt because I have these things, and I know that they want to have these things as well. You see what I'm saying? It's like almost do I have to bring myself down a notch to relate to where they are?
No,
you can go.
I used to get Survivor's Remorse when I would think about, the people you grew up with. Like, right. I'm talking about close, like, was right. Always with. And it's like, y'all was so tight, but one decision took them this way, and one decision took you this way. Right. And it's like, I could have been where they at if I'd have made, that same decision. Or, right. And sometimes I get to thinking about that, and it has me with the Survivor's Remorse. Sometimes like I could be in their situation, and I get to thinking like, what made me take the right turn instead of the left? Like it's different variables, and then when you really close to them, their background,
right.
This might have happened to them when that took them there. When you know the story of it, it's like, oh, that took them there. But, so it's like, I get a little bit of that.
Yeah, and I guess my story relating to it, when I first went to Longwood, I'll never forget, I would come home during the summer, but I would always come in to like go visit my old neighborhood to go see my old middle school friend. And it wasn't until like the third or fourth time, it's like, hey man, stop coming here, like ain't nothing for you here.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, what you mean? Like you here, like the people, he's like, nah, but I catch you on the other side. Like stop, you ain't gotta be here to hang with me. And that, for some reason, it just clicked. I was like, oh, just that fast. I kept putting him in that space. So I was like, in my mind, I wouldn't allow him to grow and get to where I was at because I was too busy feeling bad for where I'm at, looking back like, oh, this could have been you. If this went this way, this went that way. Right. But he's saying, no, I'm gonna get there. I just need you to stay out there too. Because if you coming back here, then what we doing?
Makes sense.
So that was one example for me. And then I never forget when I was actually trying to choose a school. I didn't want to go to college at first because I knew I had my siblings coming up right behind me, and I instantly thought, well, what makes me more deserving of going first, or like why should I go? I would instantly think about the financial situation, like, oh well, you know, she a way better student than me, so let's use the college on her, and I'll just go do the Air Force or something like that. Luckily, the decision was made for me because I was allergic to peanuts, but still, that was still another example though of I was feeling guilty. At this point, I was feeling guilty just because I was older though. So it's like I just was feeling guilty that I was born first, but actually, it was most I was feeling guilty because I never felt like I was the student that my sister was, and so I felt like I was taking an opportunity from her, when in reality, we all got the same opportunity.
Yeah, so I've never experienced survivor's remorse, but I had a friend who, he, you know, same kind of story, was poor and had his own business and kind of raised to like middle class status, but had the potential to continue to grow, but felt guilty and felt like if I continue to grow, then basically I'm leaving my neighborhood behind and I'm not doing right by them. And so, of course, you know, my thinking is you can never be poor enough to help a poor person. You know?
I agree with that. Right.
So I didn't really understand the concept of I'm not going to get rich because the people in my neighborhood are poor.
Yeah.
I feel if you had that mentality, well, if you like with the whole survivor's remorse thing, if you feel like you can't, you know, achieve because you're leaving people behind, if you don't achieve, how you gonna help them?
Right.
If we both standing in the projects, then
How we gonna benefit?
right,
Yeah, right.
You know,
But that's something I thought about, like when I was just like in my journey and just getting to where I'm at. I at first was looking at the bigger picture, like everything that I wanted. I would say that I want these things, right? I know that I wanted to be wealthy. I want to have a business. I want to have a nice house, the car, so forth. But opportunities probably came along, and they just probably went over my head, and I didn't see them. And I really didn't believe that I wanted it, but I really didn't believe that I can have it. You see what I'm saying? And then when it came as to where I got it, my whole attitude changed a little bit because I went back to, I just looked back on when I was thinking about me wanting it, but not really believing that I can have it. And why was that? And I seen for myself, like, okay, I was comfortable being in the space that I was in because I knew that I wasn't going to get judged, you know what I'm saying, for being better than somebody else. But then what you were saying, how can I help anybody if I'm going to be in the same same position as they? If we both in the same position, we can't go nowhere. And now it's like, okay, I don't feel bad for the things that I have. Why should I feel bad for the things that I have? Because now I'm able to sit back and, you know, help somebody and get those people to love themselves.
I just thought about something. You know how y'all always say I don't talk about my business and all this and that? Y'all always say I don't talk about it. And I think this may be a piece of why I don't. And it's crazy because when I first quit my job and said I was starting a business, I remember like my last day at work, me and all my friends, we went out and at that time I'm like, I don't know if they really get it.
Yeah.
But they just hear all the love for me. And, you know, I'm saying, yo, this is what it is. Like, you know, so they just hear all the love for me. And after that, I wouldn't really talk about it much. Because I'm like, you know, I just wouldn't really talk about it much. But then I realized they start asking. so they care, like they understand what's going on,
Right.
you know. And it made me feel better about talking about it because they're asking about it.
Because you seen that they truly care, like
Yeah.
they wanted to know what was going on.
And they not feeling like, oh, he leaving me behind. They
Right.
like it's, let me kick it in gear so I can push up where you at,
Right.
you know. So I think that kind of helped me.
Okay.
And I think most of the time that feeling of, I don't really want to, I think a lot of time, that feeling of like the survivor's remorse, usually it's always self-created. The people around you are never feeling that way.
Yeah. I like
So
that.
it's like I found myself having to ask the question, well, why do I feel like I don't deserve this? Because clearly I don't feel like I deserve it if I keep looking at everybody else and then thinking that they're talking down on me. So it's like, well, why don't I feel like I'm successful? Or why do I feel like this shouldn't be me? I think is usually the question.
Right, I think you said the key point,
Yeah.
because as we know that whatever's happening outside of us,
Right.
we think is outside of us, but it's really
Yes.
inside. And so even if that were the case where people are like, oh, you think you better, or, you know, you left us behind, you didn't look back, and that type of thing, if people are saying that to you, that's because that's how you really feel. And they're just reflecting back to you what you think. And so if you're feeling survivor's remorse, and you probably, if you're feeling that, you may have stories like, yeah, because this person, they don't even deal with me no more because they say I changed or whatever. But it's because it's something in you that does not feel comfortable with the changes that you've made. And so it's being reflected back to you. And like I said, I actually have never felt survivor's remorse. And it kind of reminds me of, in school, it was this thing called acting white. And so basically, if you were a smart black person, they say you're acting white. And so that was supposed to be a phenomenon that caused smart black children to not shine, to not show their brilliance or whatever. But no one ever told me that. No one ever said, I was acting white. But mostly because I wasn't. I wasn't. I was just my same self. I just happened to be a smart self, and I never associated smart with a color. And so I guess because I never associated smart with a color, people didn't put that on me. And the same thing, like with, I guess, moving up in the world, I never put that on I just felt like, I always thought that's what we all do. We all elevate. Like everybody elevates. That's the nature of humanity. And so I never felt like it was anything wrong with me elevating. I just thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I never felt any flack from it. And I do have a friend who, like early on when we first met, I remember him asking me, do people hate on you a lot? And he was like, because him and his wife, they travel all around the world and stuff like that, but people hate on them all the time. And I was like, no, like everybody I know, and this is ever since I was in school, people would be excited for whatever it is. So like in school, for example, if I had all A's on my report card, they would take my report card, they show it to everybody, look what she got on her. Everybody started giving me bubble yum and bubble gum. I would have like piles of candy on report card day because all the kids would be so happy, So it was like all of our report card, And the same, that's how I feel like with every, societal measure of success that I achieved, it's like, everybody is like, look what we did, and I never felt like I was leaving anybody behind or, like it was something to be remorseful for. It's always been celebrated.
I think what comes with the, when people are feeling that way is, I think it's like y'all kind of hit on like a fear of change. And I think it's a little bit of going through that uncertainty. I know for me, when when I left my job and started my business, I took a gamble. Like, you know, I was uncertain. Like, it wasn't, you know, nothing, betting on myself basically. So it's like, it was a little bit of that fear, like, if this don't go right, then what they gonna say? What kind of example did I set? Are they gonna take a leap now? You know, so I gotta get this right. You know, for my friends or whoever coming behind me. You know, like my brother and sister are watching me, and you know, things like that.
So you set the tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you feel good that you set the tone?
Yeah.
I know I was thinking like that, man. No, what you were saying, you just had me think like about the business. Like you really didn't want to talk about it, right? Because what you were thinking, you know, about how people might perceive it, and I had the exact same thought process. Because I'm thinking like all the achievements that I had in my life, some of the things I didn't want to talk about. And I'm thinking, they you know, they thinking I'm better than them now and so forth. And until I really realized, like, man, I'm telling myself this. I got this in my head. So I'm projecting this out here too. And it's unnecessary, you know, because it's probably not what anybody is thinking on. You know, they probably rooting for me, if anything, you know, and I'm just sitting back thinking all of this negative self-talk. So, it took a while. I mean, even now, sometimes I might get into that space. I had some times where I might get into that space, but like I said before, I always have to catch myself and just realize, like, hey, okay, I mean, I'm in a good spot. I'm good. I got people surrounded by me, or around me, that want nothing but the best for me. And the more that I think like that and keep that thought process, then it's like that negative thought just sort of dies, you know, dies out, man.
You know, that you're leaving people behind, have that feeling of they're right here with me still. They're right here with me, cheering me on, happy for me. And just go with that energy every day.
Yep. And when you step into your own power, that allows other people to step into theirs as well. It reminds them, especially when you're so closely aligned, like y'all have spoke about people that, you know, you hung out with for so many years, and, you know, and then they seen you doing it, and they're like, oh, okay, if he can do it, I can do it too. Well, I enjoyed this conversation on survivor's remorse. And it's interesting that all three of y'all have experienced it. I wonder if it's a male thing.
It could be.
Possible.
Well, audience, you guys let us know. Is this a male thing, or do some females experience survivor's remorse as well? Let us know in the chat. All right, thank you for joining us. This is Arvette.
This is Steve.
It's Rodney.
And Teron.